Welcome in everyone to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host, as always, James Haskell, who is live from an airport.
That's right.
Showing the dedication to you fans. It doesn't stop. It doesn't matter that he's traveling for
That's right.
his 9 to 5. No, he's still here with you to get you prepared for this upcoming Saints game, a big-time Saints game, Monday Night Football. And so we're excited to get into it. But before we get started, take a second, click the subscribe button, give us a like, and turn on your notification bell so we can keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. But Jimbo, where should we start when preparing for the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, I think we generally start with injuries and things like that. And I think that's perfect for us to start that way today as well because of the Rashad Bateman news. I think that makes a lot of sense. Unless you guys live under a rock, of course, you've heard about Rashad Bateman needing the Liz Frank surgery and being out for the rest of the season. First thing I want to say really quickly before we get into injuries as a whole and our opinions on it, we hope for a speedy recovery for Rashad Bateman because all of what we've seen from him is he's a class act, he's a team first guy, and he works really hard. Even if he wasn't those things, you'd want a guy to get healthy. But so we'll hope for a speedy recovery.
Tough start, man. You're a first round pick into an organization notoriously struggled finding wide receivers, and then you kind of get dumped the number one job in your lap when Hollywood requests a trade. And so I certainly feel bad for Rashad. I know he wanted and expected to take that job and kind of run with it, but obviously it's going to have to wait till next year at the earliest with this news. But let's just hope that he bounces back and is the full strength number one receiver the Ravens were hoping for when they drafted him.
100%. But Glenn, since I know you're at the mothership here, what other injuries we got?
Yeah.
To look out for, because I think there's some guys in this game. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it, knowing that we have a bye on the other side of it, with some guys that are kind of on the fence.
Yeah. So there were 6 total Ravens missing at practice today. One of which we just talked about, Rashad Bateman. So the other 5, left tackle Ronnie Stanley. Might just be a rest day for him. Gus Edwards with the hamstring injury that he recently picked up. And then Mark Andrews has a shoulder and a knee injury that he's currently nursing. And then the final 2, Calais Campbell and Justin Houston, typically get this day off for vet days anyway. So it looks like those 2 are on track to play. But big concern, Gus Edwards, at this point, I'd be surprised if he were to go.
Yeah.
So my question is, What do you think the status of Mark Andrews truly is? Do you think that they'll like to kind of look ahead and see this bye week upcoming and try and get him extra rest, or say, hey, we need to win every game we can, and Mark is okay to at least give this one a go? How do you think it shakes out?
Mark's an interesting one for me because he's really, really gonna want to go. And if I'm not mistaken, the knee is something he was already nursing, right? Like, wasn't he already nursing that, and then he added the shoulder to that? So I'm gonna say that Mark nor Gus play this week, and I think if this were a playoff game, they would. I think that's how close they are, but I don't think that either of them end up playing this week. I think the Ravens try and make it through without it. So I'm on the fence about it. I don't feel super confident that Mark doesn't play, while I feel super confident that Gus won't. What's your thought? I'm leaning towards Mark not playing.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that way as well, especially when you look at the schedule and kind of how it lines up coming out of the bye. They're going to be favored in likely every game down the stretch, with the exception of maybe the Bengals game. But outside of that, I mean, you got the Broncos, you got the Panthers, you got the Jaguars. I think that they look at that as really where they'll make up ground and maybe make sure that he's rested and healthy. Because what you don't want to do is rush him out there. Then you lose him for the rest of the year because he worsens one of those 2 injuries.
Yeah, we just saw that, right?
Exactly. So we don't want that. But positive news on the injury front. Harbaugh did say he expects Tyus Bowser to be active Monday. And I think we expect a pretty big workload from him. The guy looks to be in phenomenal shape, bigger, stronger, just as fast as he was before the injury. So all those metrics are aiming in the right direction. A good possibility that he plays. Also a good possibility that Deshaun Jackson is elevated from the practice squad in response to the Bateman issue. So when you think about those 2 guys, which one do you think will be more important in this coming game?
Yeah, I think this game it's going to have to be Deshaun because the team is transitioning now to life without Bateman for the rest of the season, like for sure. And I think that the the defensive group, the outside linebackers already were living life without Tyus. And so as far as an impact goes, they had Rashad, lost Rashad, and so now there's a void they're having to fill. And I think Deshaun is going to be a big part of that. But I know I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I do want to ask you this question in response. I want you to give your answer on the question that you asked, see if you agree with me or not. But I also want to ask you this. Do you think that are there any dark horse wide receivers that you see filling this void, right? For Rashad Bateman, a Tylan Wallace, a James Prochet, like a Benjamin Victor, like, you know what I mean? Is it just going to be almost a 1-for-1 as far as productivity from him to Duve, and then you sprinkle in Deshaun, or do you see any dark horse guys making an impact and taking advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way I look at it is I'm not expecting a ton from anyone because they haven't shown it. So I think that the guy who surprises me will likely surprise most Ravens fans because I don't have a ton of expectations for James Prochet or Tylan Wallace, where I know a lot of people, they certainly have their fan bases that really are rooting for him and have higher expectations. Man, I'm worried without Rashad Bateman. I'm going to call it what it is, especially when I look at, and we're going to get more into it, but when I look at a Saints team that likes to play man coverage, they like to challenge you, get in your face, and make you beat them. If you can't beat them, it's a worrisome afternoon for the offense. So, man, I hope I think what it's going to be, honestly, is Isaiah likely takes the brunt of that, and he's kind of that guy. But, man, I'm hopeful that the combination of Demarcus Robinson and what he's able to do in the kind of the yak category that we've seen him flexing, I think that's going to be a big contribution. And then Devin Duvernay, your guy, Jimbo, is going to have to look like more than a gadget player who's in standing role. I think he has to go into a massive role increase. We have to see him much more, and I just hope that he can separate because I know what he can do with the ball in his hands. Have no questions about him catching the ball. I just wonder if he can create enough separation against guys like Marshawn Lattimore, who's likely to return this week.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. You said a lot there, and I kind of want to unpack it a little bit. It's a good point you bring up Demarcus Robinson. Obviously, Duvernay is going to have to, improve, but I don't know if improve is the word. He's going to have to, like you said, fill the shoes of a bigger role. I think obviously he has the ability to do it. That fantasy pick seems to get better and better for me every week. But just want to say that last week, you're talking about the separation. Last week, I think it was last week, right? That he had the long pass down the sideline. Wasn't that last week? Duvernay?
Was that last week?
And then he also did in the Bengals game. Not like crazy long. It was called intermediate.
Okay.
But it was, if I'm not mistaken, there's been 2 of those so far this year where it just is a straight go, right? And Lamar pushes it down the sideline, and he's making a catch. Now, like you said, separation is important. In both of those plays that I'm remembering, he didn't have a ton of it, but certainly made a catch and had enough space to make a catch. It wasn't like crazy contested, right? So I understand your concern, but I think he'll be just fine in that regard. But Greg's just got to continue to get creative and get him open, find ways to just get him the football, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's just get right into it. Let's start talking about the New Orleans Saints defense. Let's start there, and then we'll transition over to the offense.
Do we want to, really quickly, though, before we change gears, do we want to get to these 2 super chats?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so focused on all this.
No, you're all good.
But yeah, absolutely.
I think Sean's got one up here.
All right, let me go back up here. So is Sean the first one?
Yep.
All right, cool. So Sean says, guys, I hate to say it. It kills me. But like I said the other day, he's Rashad Perryman. Oh, he's Rashad Perryman.
Sean, I think you're overreacting a little bit. I get it, but I wouldn't be there yet. If I'm not mistaken, Rashad Perryman didn't even register a stat for first 18 months of his contract.
Well, maybe he's not full Rashad Perryman, but he is at least showing shades of it right now. I will say this, it's just so unfortunate for the Ravens because they go get Rashad Bateman from college, who had he had very little injury history his entire career, and then he comes here and he's banged up right away. It's just unfortunate. I hope he's not that. I hope he doesn't become that, but I can certainly understand why Sean says it.
Yeah. Well, really quickly, before we get too far down the road of this game, I understand the point as well. I think overall Sean, you're overacting a little bit. Let's actually get to the next one, and then I have one follow-up question here. You want to read this one?
Yeah, Dolfo says, love the show. Me and Cassie will be cheering super loud for the Flock in New Orleans. Nice. Let's get this W and keep stacking. Well, that is awesome that you get to go on the road to cheer on the Ravens. That's super cool. I hope that you're super loud when the Ravens are silencing the rest of the crowd around you. But yeah, that's. Oh.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So,
but really quickly, I just wanted to pose something to you.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
1, do the Ravens do anything in free agency? 2, the Odell Beckham tracker seems to be gaining momentum. Is that the move? Do you think that they do anything here? You know, I think there's really only 3 guys that come to my mind. There's Odell, there's Ty. Oh, geez, how am I blanking on this kid's name? Played for Dolphins, played for the Texans, has the long hair, he was oft injured. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. I've been up really long today. What's the kid's name?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think if we have to start going to that, then man, that's big pro. Oh, there it is. Will Fuller.
Fuller. Yeah, I was sitting here trying to look for it like a dummy.
So I think the one that I would be most excited about would be, you might have to mute yourself, James. It's super loud, that noise. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, anytime that lady's talking, you might have to kill it.
Be quiet over there.
Yeah, scream at her. So Will Fuller it looks like retired. So if that's true in the chat, that's what's in the chat, that Will Fuller has signed his retirement papers. So if that's the case, he's the only one on that list that would get me at all excited. Has the injury concern, but certainly the best success when healthy. More recently was Will Fuller. Ty, no thanks. He already turned us down once. He's a shell of what he used to be anyway. So Odell Beckham, the question is, what Odell Beckham are you getting? He's still not healthy. If you're getting old Odell Beckham, who can turn a slant into an 80-yard touchdown and can win one-on-ones, sure, that'd be great. I just wonder what type of quality of a player you're getting at this point in his career with all these injuries adding up and him still coming back. So I hope it's not any of them guys, but that's why I'm concerned, because it's like, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot out there. AB, heck no.
Yeah,
Antonio
no, thank
Brown,
you.
Are you out of your mind? Never in life.
Yeah, no, thank you. Him and Kanye West can go hang out together.
Dude is a lunatic. Yeah. The guy's lost his mind. So definitely do not want any. And the Ravens, believe me, want nothing to do with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, any Brown at this point, whether it's him
if you
or
like him, have at him. But
yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I think it sounds like the way that you want to go is, this is who we are. Let's double down and let's ride with our guys and see what we can do. Is. Right? Like, there's no reinforcements coming. Let's prove who we are and what we can do. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, I think that can create a lot of momentum inside the locker room, and you learn to depend on one another and know, oh, well, what if we get this guy? What if we get this guy? No, we're not going to worry about any of that. We're going to worry about who's here today, and this is what we're going to do, and this is who we got, and this is who we're going to ride with. Let's roll. So I'm okay with it. I'm ready to do it.
Cool. All right. Let's get into some of the defense for the New Orleans Saints and some of the challenges that they will pose, because they certainly will. So let's get into some of their key players. So Cam Jordan is the guy to watch up front. He's causes a ton of havoc for opposing offenses. He's a sack machine, but he is getting a little older. Still hell of a player, but admittedly is getting a little older. But opposite him is Davenport, who was a first-round pick a few years back and is also a pretty darn good pass rusher. So those are the two guys I watch for on the defensive line. At linebacker, Demario Davis is just a flat-out tackling machine. He has been for many, many years. If anyone's played in a fantasy football league that has individual defensive players, then I'm sure Demario is one of the first players taken, because linebackers gets tons of tackles, and he's one that's traditionally over that 100 marker. So again, tackling machine, but also has 5 sacks on the year. So can certainly blitz as well. Werner's also is a first round or second round pick linebacker. He's tackling machine as well, has some limitations athletically, but can get you to the ground. And then on the back end of the defense, they got a couple other studs. Marcus Lattimore is expected to maybe able to give it a run. He's one of the very best corners in all of football. And then Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Everybody knows him. Ravens kind of flirted with maybe bringing him in not long ago. Ultimately, he's now with the Saints. He's got, he had 2 picks last week against the Raiders. There are only 2 picks on the season, but he did have 2 picks in just one game last year as they shut out and shut down the LA Raiders. So,
and he knows the Ravens in the previous battles when he was in Kansas City.
That's very true. Yeah.
So
the guys
they got a squad,
stud.
but they've been had in the passing game. And also, if I'm not mistaken, they're giving up 94 yards a game on the ground. Is that something like that, right?
Let's see. Rushing, they give up per game 112 on the
112. Ground. Okay. So it must have been what I read, 94 to running backs.
Maybe so.
Is must have what why that number is off. But either way, I mean, they've certainly, that's not a great number. They've been had on the ground. And how are they in the air right now?
So they give up an average of 208 net passing yards per game. So that's not bad. I mean, look, they got an aggressive man cover, get after your quarterback defense that certainly benefits from playing with a lead. That's kind of how they want to get to a lead and then pass rush like crazy. They want to run a bunch of stunts, twists. They want to confuse you up front, have that kind of that organized chaos where you're not sure who. A bunch of guys stand at the line. You don't know who's coming, who's dropping. They could rush forward, drop 2, flip it around, do whatever. But they got a good defense, Jimbo. The thing that hurts them is that they only have 2 turnovers all year, and that's the 2 that Honey Badger had last week. And on the flip side, their offense turns it over a ton. So oftentimes this defense is facing a short field, or the points are coming from the opposing team, like we saw last week when Andy Dalton's throwing. The previous week when Andy Dalton was throwing pick 6s going the other way. I think he threw 2 of them against the Bengals. So the offense turns the ball over a lot, and they don't force turnovers. But other than that, they're a pretty good defense, Jimbo.
Yeah, no, for sure. They got guys and they got swag, and they're certainly aggressive. I would agree with you. So the stats are a bit misleading. It'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. But I'm excited to talk about some of my keys because it kind of lends to things you were talking about. So offensively, sure. So if you want, why don't we give some of our stats offensively, and then we can get to the keys if you want.
Well, look, I mean, I think the fans listening
Fair
probably
enough.
know what we got going on.
I think the biggest things, like you mentioned, Duvernay is going to be a really important player in this game. Obviously, Lamar's going to have to get a lot done. But sorry, she's probably super loud. Hold on.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of stuff here, Jimbo. If you want, you turned off your video, not your audio. There you go. Okay. I will say this, like you mentioned, a couple notes that would be key to this is Kenyon Drake averages 5.1 per carry on the season. Justice Hill averages 6.4. So both those guys have great yards per carry averages as it currently stands, but you wonder if those two are now in a bigger role and getting more carries, if they can keep that number where it is. I mean, Justice Hill, 6.4 yards per carry. That's fantastic. So those are the 2 guys that are going to be taking the bulk of the carries. But what are some of your keys to the game and all that?
Yeah. So one of them is this has been a theme for me, and I think Greg did a good job with this last week, was sticking to the run, staying consistent with the run. It's something we've been screaming about for a while now. And I think that as of late, they've been able to do that successfully. But the big one for me, and this really has to do with our defense, I think the way that we win this game is not by an overwhelming offense, but our defense. I think this has a chance for them to be their performance of the season thus far. And you talked about, the teams against the Saints putting their offense in favorable positions. So offensively, we got to take care of the ball. I think we'll be in good position because our defense is going to play well. With that being said, we can't be loose with the ball. If we don't need to be overwhelming, we don't need to outscore them. I don't see this being a shootout, but we have to take care of the football. I know that's always job number 1, but particularly in this game where we're adjusting to Bateman being out. Gus isn't back there. So in some ways, we're certainly limited on offense. It's going to be Sean's first game out there. So really controlling the football is going to be of the utmost importance because I don't think we'll be able to get down the field as quickly and be as explosive as we have been in other parts of the season based on all these new moving parts. So take care of the football, stick to the run.
100%. I mean, I can't disagree, Jimbo. I mean, I think you kind of hit the keys right there. I'm not going to add much to them. I think you're right. Don't give the defense anything to get excited about, and certainly don't let the defense get the offense rolling by throwing them the ball. So, yeah, I think that's 100% right. How about your offensive breakout player?
Yeah, my offensive breakout player, you already know, dude. It's Doof. I mean, I was this close to taking Deshaun Watson. I'm pretty sure everyone just looked at me like I'm an idiot when I said that. I got a ton of people all over here. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are just watching me. But, no, I'm going with Devin Duvernay. I think that he shows up and shows out in a big way in this game. I say he clears 70 yards catching, 25 yards on the ground. I think I'm going to say 75 yards catching and 25 on the ground. I think he goes for over 100 yards all-purpose and has a touchdown.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Well, my breakout player is none other than Justice Hill. I think Justice
Hill that one too.
Has a fantastic game. I think I'm going to say it, Jimbo. I think he goes for 100 yards this week.
Don't you dare.
He's going for 100 yards.
You know what you just did?
Did I put the jinx on him? The whammy on him?
No, you just pulled a Jimbo, dude.
Did I?
How? I think you just went, sometimes I just go too far. You know what I'm saying? I just go too far sometimes.
Hold on.
Predictions.
I think we both agree they got to lean on their run attack. And
for sure. But if Lamar's going to be rushing it, if Duvernay's going to be rushing it, and if
Duvernay's got his hands full, he's got to run those outside routes, okay?
Right, but if Drake's going to get the ball, I can see him getting close. I would say 80.
Okay.
But 100 is
I'm going to say 100.
I like it. Right,
I'm going to say 100.
And I love the pick.
Yeah, because here's the thing. They don't want to give Mike Davis any clock that they don't have to.
Yeah.
So it's going to really be the Kenyon Drake, Justice Hill show. I love
I'll say. Justice Hill is running much hungrier. Not that Drake isn't doing his job, but Justice Hill is running hungry like something we've never seen before from him.
Right. He's running like his life's dependent, like his career is dependent on it, and it might be. So I think he takes advantage of this, and he runs for over 100 yards, and I think he catches a few balls as well, and continues his role as a special teamer as well. I mean, here's the way this team gets a lot of penalties on defense, and they don't turn you over. But other than that, they're pretty damn good. So,
other than that, Glenn just named a laundry list of items. No,
it's just penalties and turnovers, but they're not. I mean, they're really not bad. Like, they're not bad up front, and they're not bad on the back end. They just don't it's like the opposite of the Ravens. How the Ravens were kind of making up for some of the yardage totals they were giving up by turning you over. They're like the opposite. So let's not get them started. Let's not start that turnover thing. Let's hope the Raiders didn't do that last week. But yeah, I think the Ravens have a really good chance to win this game. But let's switch over to the offensive side of the Saints against the Ravens kind of new look defense with Roquan in the center of it. So all right. So offensively, they got a few players that they really want to emphasize and highlight. They got Alvin Kamara, who is, I mean, at this point, he's as good as they come as far as players around. Jimmy, you might want to mute yourself. She's being kind of loud.
Is she? Dang, I even walked away.
Yeah, she's right into your speakers. But Alvin Kamara averages 4.3 yards per carry on the season. He's not just a running run. You know, he doesn't just run the ball. He also is second on their team in targets and in reception. So he also has 33 catches for 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's only got 1 touchdown on the ground, but interestingly enough, he's got a guy on his team that has 5 times that amount, and that's Taysom Hill, the poor man's Lamar Jackson. He has 39 attempts for 337 yards. He's got 8.6 yards per carry average on the ground with 5 touchdowns, Jimbo. So you got to take this guy seriously. One last thing I want to say about their defense that scares me a little bit. I don't think you'll find a team that is more prepared to face Lamar Jackson than this team because of the looks they get from Taysom Hill. Because if you look at the runs they do a lot of similar stuff when he's in there running the ball. And where most teams have to really cram to prepare for a guy like this, they're more prepared because of Taysom Hill and some of the packages they run. Not saying he's Lamar Jackson.
Sure,
of course not.
Sure.
But he's got some run skill, man. He's got some quicks. He runs hard. And you got to give respect where it's due. You got 5 rushing touchdowns, averaging almost 9 yards a carry. Watch out for that ground attack. Scary, man. Kamara and Hill.
Yeah, for sure. And that's fair because we've seen that come to fruition. Teams that play Lamar Jackson for the first time really struggled. Look at the I know we played against, or Todd Bowles, of course, struggled, I think, against Lamar Jackson. In that it's just hard to duplicate. But when you got a guy like Taysom Hill, like you said, it does kind of reduce the incline of that learning curve. So that's going to be really interesting.
Another thing you got to keep an eye on, Jimbo, their offensive line is really good. So they got one massive hole. They got a massive hole, and that's left tackle because they lost Armstead last year, who's now with the Dolphins, man. And they drafted Trevor Penning, who a lot of people remember coming out, but he hurt his ankle right at the end of preseason. So Trevor Penning's not in there. You know who's in there at left tackle, Jimbo?
Yeah, he's the former Raven. Gosh, I'm forgetting his name.
Hurst.
James Hurst, that's who it is. Yeah,
that's right. Everybody remembers old James Hurst. He was a turnstile when he was here.
But apparently he's playing well.
Well, he's an okay run blocker, but he's absolutely horrible as a pass blocker. But fortunately for him, he's got studs all around him. He's got your guy, Cesar Ruiz, who you loved when he came out. Absolutely.
I'm glad we got Linderbaum.
Yeah, but Cesar Luis is playing right guard for them, and the dude is an absolute monster in both run and pass. Ramczyk, monster, run and pass. Andres Pete, their left guard, monster. Eric McCoy, their second round center out of Texas A&M, he's really good. I mean, they got four players out of 5 that are really good. All of those guys are either first or second round picks, with 3 of them being first rounders. Their only hole is James Hurst. But again, that's their only hole. But man, if I was Houston lined up on Hurst, I'd be licking my chops. And the same can be said about JPP and Jason or Odafe Owe. And then of course, the receivers are really good as well. I mean, they got Chris Olave, who's an absolute stud out of Ohio State, who's a speedster who can also run routes, not just a fast guy, a guy that can really, get separation by just his route running. On top of that, he has exceptional speed.
Well, Glenn, my name is being called.
Okay,
I've waited until as long as I can.
I'll read all your answers for the competition.
Really quickly though, let me give my defensive keys. I think understanding context is key here. We've played against Andy Dalton in the past. He knows us relatively well. We're obviously under a new regime at defensive coordinator, but giving him some different looks is important. I think that's something to be aware of. And then the other piece of it is why did I just say?
Don't miss your flight. Don't miss your flight.
So just remember that. But anyway, Ravens fans, I'm going to get to this because my name just got called again. Did you hear that?
I appreciate your dedication, Jimbo. Fly safe.
Yeah, don't forget those super chats. DK,
I got you.
Put them up there, bro.
Oh, yeah, DK, I need your help to help me with those super chats.
Dude, you should just put DK in there last minute. Just put him up there.
Just get him in here?
Yeah,
that'll
dude.
Be up
All
to
right,
DK.
man. Have a good one. Enjoy it, guys. Thank you, Glenn.
Yes,
appreciate it. And I'm going to win again. 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to win.
No chance.
So.
0 chance.
All right, man. See you guys.
I love it. All right. So I'm going to be riding the rest of this one out with you guys. So certainly lean on the chat and DK helping as much as he can and feels comfortable. But Todd Heap said, I'm going to get back into some of that talk in a second. But Todd Heap says, doesn't the inverse apply in the same sense that we are the most prepared team to go against someone like Taysom Hill? Absolutely. Very good point. I think that's well said, and certainly the tricks that they're going to be trying will be familiar to the Ravens defense, 100%. So yeah, well said. Good point. It kind of works both ways there. But let's see. Is it D Ravens or Dravens? One of the two. I am so excited to see Roquan and PQ play together. Did you guys happen to listen to Lamar on Rich Eisen today? I did not. A little bit of contract talk in there. I'm really excited about the O-line progression so far. Wow, I have to check that out because I was working like crazy today. So I literally got home 5 minutes before we went live, which is why, I don't know if you caught me, but I snuck in a bite of my food here because your boy is starving. Haven't eaten all day, but I want to make sure I came and got on here live. But yeah, offensive line, extremely excited about the progression there. I mean, they have a chance, as long as things kind of keep trending in the right direction, to be one of the very best offensive lines in the entire league. No doubt about it. They are, I mean, it's really hard to find. Ben Powers has some limitations, but I think we're kind of being a little hard on him if we don't give him some credit about what he's been able to accomplish this season as well. But let's get back into some of their offense. I mentioned Chris Olave and the stud that he is. It looks like what I saw tweeted today. I think Adam Schefter tweeted out that Michael Thomas is expected to miss the remainder of the season. There was some kind of rumors that he might be able to go this week, but not only is he not going this week, it's likely he's going to be shut down for the rest of the season. So that's a tough loss for the Saints, but they could be getting Jarvis Landry back. That's kind of a questionable, might end up being a game time decision, but we all remember Jarvis Landry, if you've been a fan of the Ravens for quite some time, possession receiver, a guy that can really get open and pick up some big third down conversions for his team to go along with the explosive Chris Olave. Now at quarterback, everybody remembers Andy Dalton. If you've been here for a while, he certainly had some games where he burned the Ravens and their defense, but this is not the same Andy Dalton. He's gotten older, and with age, he's lost some of his physical traits and abilities, but he's still a guy that can, has seen it all and virtually done it all. So not a guy you can easily confuse, but he will. I mean, like I said, they lead the league in the bad way. They have the worst turnover ratio coming into this game, I believe, in all of football, largely because Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton throw the ball to the wrong team too often. So the Ravens have been known to turn you over an awful lot this year, certainly intercepting more balls than in recent history for the Ravens. So if all things continue to go how they are, you think the Ravens will be able to force some turnovers out of Andy Dalton. And I think that that's going to be certainly a target of the Ravens because they are, there you go. I love that. Lamar Jackson is 12-2 in his career against the NFC. Man, and some of those, I mean, the Giants is one of those losses, and that just burns me up because that game was given away, no doubt about it. But so they could very well be 13-1. But he's certainly, yeah. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's going to do just fine in this game, despite the fact that he has some weapons that he's going to miss, no doubt about it. But yeah, let me just get into any more of this. Let's see. Let's get into some of the keys here because I think Jimbo was trying to say that Andy Dalton, while he has a history with the Ravens that is it's lengthy. He's had some opportunities where he's really burned the Ravens, but this isn't the same old Andy Dalton. So I think Jimmy wants the Ravens to take advantage of an older, aging Andy Dalton, and hopefully take some balls that he's throwing to his players and take them the opposite direction. Slowing down Kamara is obviously, this should come as no surprise, going to be the utmost importance. My question is, how do they guard him as a receiver? Because I think that against the run, we have some guys that can certainly slow down this rush attack, even though they have a star-studded group of offensive line. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. They got a good offensive line outside of their left tackle. But I'm confident that the Ravens can slow down their rush attack. But my question is, how do they guard Kamara? Now, Roquan Smith could be a big part of that. He's got the coverage ability. But my question is, is he going to be – because Taysom Hill's a lot of times going to be out there lined up as tight end, lined up at quarterback, lined up at halfback. So they're going to have to handle both of these guys. And it's going to be interesting what Hamilton's role is on this defense because Kyle Hamilton's been a big-time contributor as far as guarding tight ends. Does he come into play for Taysom Hill? Does he come into play for guarding Alvin Kamara? That's got me a little nervous. Do they deploy a corner on Alvin Kamara out of the backfield? Or is it just Roquan? Alvin's your job, whether he's, flaring out of the backfield, if he's running the ball, however they're deploying him. I think Roquan could end up being a very big game. And I think Jimmy's got him as his defensive breakout player with good reason, because I think he's going to be a big, big part. I wonder if he'll get his normal allotment of snaps because he's so new to the team, or if PQ could find himself as the only linebacker in there, at least right now, until Roquan familiarizes himself more with the playbook and terminology that the Ravens coaches use. That's going to be interesting to see. But to me, as far as the offense, the defense goes with stopping this high-powered Saints offense, it's simple. It's put the ball in Andy Dalton's hands, make him beat you. Don't let Alvin Kamara kill you in the run and pass game. And then of course with Andy Dalton, don't let Chris Olave be the guy who just tears this defense apart. He's got me nervous. I'll admit it. He's fast. He can run good routes. And with Peters having the hamstring injury that he's kind of been nursing, and Marlon Humphrey having the groin injury that he's been nursing, I just wonder if we have a guy on this team that can run with Chris Olave if Andy Dalton is given the time. So I think the Ravens will have a good plan to attack the deficiencies of James Hurst on the left side, and let's hope that they can pressure Andy Dalton enough to where he doesn't have the time to get the ball down the field to Chris Olave, and then his only option is check down to Alvin Kamara, and that the Ravens have an answer for that. That's kind of my goal there. But all right, let's get into unless there's any. Okay, there is a super chat here. Here we go. James Lee Wiley says, wasn't Dalton as much as it was AJ Green? Yeah, hard to argue there, James. Certainly AJ Green and Tyler Boyd, for that matter. I don't know if you guys remember, but Tyler Boyd had that one a few years ago that really on 4th and 19, not only did he pick up the 19 yards for the first down, but he ended up getting a touchdown, I think, on that same play. So, yeah, you're right. It wasn't always the spectacular Andy Dalton throw. It was sometimes more what AJ Green going up and getting it, or Tyler Boyd catching it and turning a shorter gain into a much longer game for some bad tackling. But yeah, I think that was the only super chat. So let's get into some of our show competition, because Jimbo is feeling himself. He won last week, but it's pretty clear who has been the most consistent performer all season. And that's your guy right here, Glenn Martin, who is currently leading in the pick accuracy, unless things have changed, which I don't think they have, DK. But yeah, so they're just really trying to chase down your boy. And I'm gonna remind everyone why I'm the king of this competition with this one. But we want you to participate as well. What's up, DK?
I'm not gonna let you get away with that. All right.
What's up, man?
I need to jump in here and substitute for Jimmy, so that you're not out here spouting out, how you're going to win all week. So I'll share my picks this week in lieu of Jimmy traveling. So give you a little time to, do a little back and forth with me this week. How about that?
That sounds awesome. But guys, this isn't just a show competition. So if you want to participate, simply wait for this live session to end and put your predictions in the comment section below, or DM us on any of the social medias you see above DK's head. Private message us, give us your over/under scores, your closest to the pin, and then after the game, when we do our post-game show, we'll announce the show or the fan winner, who will then DM us their shirt size and address, and boom, a shirt will show up to your door. 410 Sports Talk swag. So yeah, let's get right into the competition. All right. DK, what is the first of our series of over-unders?
All right, so we're going to go with the offense. The first offensive over-under, we've got Ravens rushing yards. I set it at 177.5. On the year, we're at 166 per game. Last year, we had a bit of a burst at 231 for the game. So I thought somewhere in between might work, especially this week after hearing Bateman's not going to play. Some of us might be thinking we might lean on the run game, although the Saints do play the run decently. So this is where I set it. So yeah, Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go under here, only because of the current running backs, I think, aren't quite as explosive as what we're used to. So I don't think it'll be much under. I think they get right around 175 yards. Of course, Justice Hill's going to get 105 of those by himself. But I don't think we get a whole bunch of contributions from Kenyon Drake. And I think Lamar picks her up around 45 or 50 yards himself. So I say under, but barely under. What do you think?
Oh, wow. I'm a little surprised. If you went with Justice Hill going over 100, it's hard to project, especially with Lamar out there. I'm going to go under as well. I think that the rush defense for the Saints is decently strong. And, after last week, having the kind of passing first half kind of go down the tubes, I think Lamar's going to want to have some success throughout the game. So I think they're going to lean a little bit more in the pass throughout the game. So I do feel like it'll be a balanced game, and we might fall just short of that 177.5 mark. So,
well, who do you, DK? I know we're doing the competition, but when they lean on the pass with Bateman out,
yeah,
who do you think's the main contributor to the pass catching?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think actually this is the week where you're going to see this double team attack of Andrews and Likely just terrorize the Saints.
The middle of the field.
So
Okay.
yeah, so last week what we had was Andrews was out there for a bit and he got hurt and he left the game, and a lot of it was really Likely that had to kind of take on the load. So I'd like to see this combination of two tight ends dominating, the middle of the field. You can't tell which way they're going, and Lamar just goes back and forth. So
okay,
I think that's something that I don't think any other team is really prepared to do. What do? Set up a cornerback on the guys. I mean, you set linebackers up. I mean, and you got to defend the run at the same time. So it kind of sets up for a matchup problem on the offensive side of the ball. So I think I'm excited to see what happens this weekend. So that kind of leads me into the second over-under.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so I honed in on Mark Andrews. So we've got Mark Andrews receptions. I set it at 5.5. He is right around there for the season. So at 5.3. I know he left last game. I believe he didn't practice today, so it's still up in the air. If he's going to play, I guess, even how productive he's going to be over the weekend. So, so what say you?
I think he doesn't play, and for that reason, I say under. I think that they'll look at this as an opportunity to make sure he's healthy for the remainder of the season, and try and avoid any furthering of the injury, any worsening. That's what I think they kind of try and avoid. So for that reason, I say under, only because I don't even think he plays.
Wow. All right. I'm going to lean on the other side. I think, he didn't practice last week either. So if I remember correctly, he went the whole week without practicing, played. So you're right. He did get injured, but I do think that he wants to be out there, especially with Bateman gone. I think he's going to push himself to get out there and do his thing. Whenever he's on the field, he's never a slouch. Like if he's out there, he's balling. So so my prediction is that he'll nab about six of those and take some pressure off some of the other guys, other pass catchers. Maybe he won't have the greatest game. Maybe he's not having a record day, but I do think he does just enough to lighten the load off the other guys who are just filling in for, the missing playmaking ability that Bateman is. So I'm going to say over.
And I hope you're right. But man, I think this one's going to be an easy win for you, boy, on that one. I'm just saying.
We'll
I'm just saying this might be the likely show. All right, what do you have for our first of the defensive over-unders?
All right, so on the defensive side, I took a look at the tackles with the entry of one Roquan Smith. I thought it might be appropriate to have an over-under based on Ravens defender, so any defender that has the high in total tackles, and I set that at 8.5. Oddly, last game 6 was the high.
Interesting.
But I think it's been varied kind of game to game. But so whoever has the high in total tackles for the Ravens, and that's at 8.5.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but Roquan Smith's an absolute tackling machine, and he leads the league in tackles this year, DK. So absolutely over. A team that likes to run the ball, both with their running backs and with their tight end, is he's listed in fantasy football leagues, Taysom Hill. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to tackle the ball carrier, and he's going to want to put on a show for his new fan base. It's going to, of course, waiting to welcome another linebacker with open arms here. And I think he puts on a show. I think he gets double-digit tackles in his first game.
Wow, double digits. Okay, all right.
Yep, yep.
Well, I'm right there with you. I'm on that same wavelength. I'm thinking that he's a plug and play player. That
Yep.
Roquan Smith is. He's just a tackling me. I'm sure it doesn't matter what team you put him on, and he'll notch 10, 12 tackles a game.
Mhm.
And so I don't think it's any different this week, which would be great for his debut. For
Yeah.
him to sort of ingratiate himself with the fans in Baltimore and bring back the glory days of strong middle linebackers.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to it. I say over as well, and hopefully it's a significant amount over 8.5. So
Let's
that's
hope.
what I'm
Let's
hoping.
hope. And let's hope that,
Yep.
like Tanja Bowman says, that PQ kind of takes off in his new role in a much reduced role, but I hope he kind of responds well and looks forward to this new challenge.
Well, I think you were talking about Alvin Kamara earlier. I mean, I think it presents like an interesting situation where PQ's got speed. Maybe he's a guy who can keep up with an Alvin Kamara and shadow him over the game, while Roquan is maybe eyeing more the run game and making sure that doesn't get out of hand. So. I mean, it's great because I feel like you can split their roles and make them do some interesting things. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just hope PQ embraces it, man, because I think if he does, he's got a chance to really kind of take advantage of this role because Mike McDonald's only going to put him in spots where he thinks he can succeed, which
Right.
could make Pat Queen a lot of money. But all right, let's go into the final of the defensive over unders. What do you got?
All right. So I went back to sacks. So we set the Ravens sacks over under at 2.5. Houston had 2 last game and a total of 3 for the team. So here we are talking about sacks again. So yeah, what do you think?
I think they go over. I think the reason they go over, Tyus Bowser coming back is going to allow Adafe Owe to. Here's the problem with Adafe. I love how Coach broke this down because Coach Harbaugh kind of made it easy for me to understand. The difference between Bowser and Adafe is Bowser is an outside linebacker who can pass rush, and Adafe Owe is a defensive end who can drop in coverage. They are two very different players. Adafe Owe is a more traditional defensive end in like a 4-3 attack. But because he's so athletic and we didn't have Bowser, we're asking him to play a more traditional outside linebacker 3-4 defensive role, which requires you to drop a lot because he not only was he the best pass rusher, at least in theory, I'd say it's Justin Houston, but he was also the best at that role because he was the most athletic. So I think allowing now Bowser to slide back into that role because he's better at it and more natural fit will allow Adafe Owe to use most of his energy as a pass rusher, which is why he was brought here along with Justin Houston and JPP. So I think that group gets better just from the injection. And also, Tyus Bowser did lead this team in sacks last year with, I think, 7.5. So he's also going to be a huge addition to that group. So I think for all those reasons and the fact that Andy Dalton's a statue, even though they have a great offensive line, except for James Hurst on the left side, I think they get 3 sacks this game. So I say over.
Okay. All right. That's great. I mean, I like your rationale. My only concern is that, Andy Dalton is a guy who gets the ball out quick because he knows he's a statue. He's not going to stand in there and take it. And we know that, because we've faced him over the years. Now, I don't know what his sacks look like this year. That's something I hadn't looked up, but that's my only concern. And you're talking about a bunch of different pieces that are just being thrown into this week, and they're all playing together for the first time. So, to lean on that and to feel like they're absolutely going to take off on sacks. I mean, it'd be great if they did. I tend to see what happens with the Ravens in terms of sacks is they have a great game. Like last game, they had 3 sacks. And then they'll come away with 1 or none or whatever. And it tends to go up and down. So I'm going to call it a down week. They're trying to settle in, get used to playing with each other. Maybe some tackles for losses, some broken up plays in the backfield. I could see definitely that happening. I'm going to go under here for that reason.
All right. Just so you know, I did look it up while you were talking. They've given up 19 sacks on the season to their quarterbacks.
Sacks. Okay, got it.
So not as bad. I mean, look, the Ravens have given up 23, so it could be worse.
Yeah, that's true.
It could certainly be worse. But all right, what's the final over under, which is what total score?
Total score. Let's see. Vegas has set it at 48, so that's where we put it at. I will come up with a score on the fly as you share your prediction, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So I have it barely under. I have the Ravens winning 27-20, so a total of 47 points. Barely sliding under that 48-point bar. I think this is a game where the Ravens have control of it in the second half, and that honestly, I think the score is more like 27-13, and they score a late touchdown to Chris Olave to cut it to 27-20, and that's how it ends as the Ravens run the clock out in their final drive. But I think they are at one point up by a much more decisive win, because I just think if the Ravens don't turn it over and they play clean, then I think they have a really good shot to kind of pull away from it. My only question is if the Saints can shut down the run game and play that aggressive man defense on the outside, if we cannot separate and give Lamar targets, that would be my only concern about this game. But I'm going to say 27-20 Ravens win.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to go a little bit lower scoring just because I feel like with Roquan in there, I'm betting on Roquan, man. Like I really feel like he's really going to take the defense, solidify the middle of the field, give some teeth to the run game, and at the same time give confidence to the guys in the secondary that they can cover their guys. They don't have to worry too much about the run game, and they can focus really on shutting down their guys and not have to feel like they're chasing their guys, all over the field for too long when the pass defense breaks down. So anyway, I think they keep the score down to 17. So I'm going to go 24-17 Ravens.
Nice. And just so you guys know, Jimbo picks the Ravens to win as well. This time he says over 31-21 win, total of 52 points. So Jimbo has them winning the most decisive victory as a 10-point lead. So shout out to Jimbo here. All right. So for our final tiebreaker, our closest to the pin challenge, we all predict how many total yards the Ravens will have, and that is our final tiebreaker. I have the Ravens gaining a total of 388 yards in this game. I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think 170 to 175 of that's going to come on the ground, and the remainder will come through the air. So a little over 200 yards. I think Lamar will find some success in the middle of the field, but let's just hope that we don't have any turnovers. I think that's the big key to this game, is playing a clean football game. But 388 is my total. What do you think?
All right, I'm going to go a little bit less than that. I'll go 345. I don't think they're going to need that many yards in order to beat the Saints, because I think that the defense is going to hold the other side to less yards, and for that reason, they won't need to press as much. And yeah, around that same, I think to me, it's going to be one of those games where Lamar's going to pass it slightly more than the number of rushing yards that we end up getting. So if we get 150, 160, he's got the 200, I guess 200 something, depending on how that math shakes out. So yeah, that's my feeling. They don't need to rack up the yards in order to steal the win here. So
nice. Okay. All right. Well, I like seeing that all of us have picked I was close to leaning towards the Saints here. I'll admit it.
Really?
I'll admit it. With the injuries that are going on, the fact that Bateman's not going to be there, I have my concern. It's an aggressive defense. They will press up on you. They will run twists. They will run stunts. They love to play in your face, challenge you type defense. And in years past, the Ravens haven't always responded well to that. So, but I hung on with my boys. I'm still going to pick them to win. I think they've hopefully learned their lesson from those defensive strategies in the past, and also like you, I'm counting on this defense to be something special.
Yeah, I think that's the wild card. I'm excited to watch the game. Yeah, the result, but I want to see how well the defense plays. I mean, I'm one of those guys that, like, man, if I can get a twinkle of like if this defense can look a little bit like what the Ravens defense used to look like in the past, then I'll be elated, And so I'm looking forward to how well the defense plays, and I think that'll be the foreshadowing for how the rest of the season goes. especially with our schedule being not as strong as it, or not as hard as it has been maybe earlier on, and maybe what's to come in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, especially when I look around the AFC North and I'm seeing some struggling teams all over the place. I absolutely love seeing that. But that's it for us this week. Again, if you guys want to participate in our competition, simply wait for this live session to end and give your predictions in the comments below, or reach out to us and direct message us on any of the social media handles you see above DK's head. Give us your over-unders. Give us your closest to the pin as far as the yardage predictions. And then we'll announce the winner in our post-game show, whether that's directly after the game Monday night or the following night, Tuesday, when we do our live session. One of those 2 nights we'll announce the winner. Then you'll give us your shirt size and address in another DM, and voila, you'll have a shirt or hoodie show up at your house with some Raven or some 410 Sports Talk swag. So make sure you participate, because every week we're getting more and more participants, and it's a pretty special thing. It's pretty cool. So
it's taking more and more time to go over the results, man. So putting exciting
DK to work. Absolutely. But I just want to give a couple shout outs. Tanja Bowman, appreciate you coming out. Don C, you guys are always here. I appreciate you guys so much. Adrian, thanks. Jimmy Kidwell, also here a ton. Troy, yes, I want to see our defense close out in a fourth quarter. I think that's why they went and got Roquan. Guy from Newark, what's going on? Mike got game. Yeah, I'm still building my ultimate team also, Mike. It drives me crazy. Let me tell you something, Mike. The daggone Halloween stuff with the gigantic players, I'm over it on Madden. I'm over it. They got 8-foot receivers running down the damn field and jumping over everyone. I'm done with it. But anyway, that's I digress from that. That's just my complaining here. Turner, what's going on? Appreciate you coming in. Donovan Sales says Roquan's going to get 15 tackles, and I love it. I certainly hope he's right about that.
Anyone else I
missed? Yeah, anyone else I missed, I'm sorry, but I appreciate you watching and appreciate you participating. That's it for us tonight, and we'll talk to you guys soon.